During this lesson, we'll review scheduling a resource, and this is a two-part demonstration, so this will be part one. For this demonstration, we'll go through and we'll build a team from a project that doesn't have a WBS associated with it. And the two primary things we'll be doing is assigning resources, which means assigning roles to the project and the length of time and how many hours during that length of time we need them, and then we'll fulfill the resources to those roles. So we'll go in and build a team for a project that doesn't have a work breakdown structure in use on it. So I have I guess a project created already, so I'll just go to all projects. And we'll look at project 147, which is called Scheduling No Work Breakdown Structure. It's a time and material project. Doesn't matter what the project type is, though. When you're using scheduling, you can schedule towards any type of project you want. So we'll jump in here, and we're going to ignore all of the other tabs other than this project, team, and scheduling tab. So this is the tab or fast tab that's specific for scheduling, and we'll notice that it's got quite a few fields across the top of it, and then it's got basically a pane that has some buttons that you can use. So the first thing that you need to do is define the scheduling start date and scheduling end date, and I want to clarify that those really have no alignment with the project start date or project end date, so they're their own dates. So I just defined start date of 4/4/2016, and then we'll end roughly a month later. And just a note, you have to pick working days, so that's a good segue into the next field, which is the scheduling calendar field. This is the calendar that's applicable for this specific project, so what days you're open and how many hours available per day. So this scheduling start date is on 4/4, because if I picked 4/3, that's a Sunday and we're closed on Sunday, and then you'd get selected date is not a working date. So we'll pick 4/4 again, and we'll go to 4/29. So then the duration in days is auto-calculated, and then there's this disregard the resources calendar. So you can assign a scheduling calendar at the resource level, and if you have this set to no, it's only going to look for resources that share that same calendar. If you have it set to yes, it's going to basically look for resources no matter what their calendar is. All right, and then we have a couple other statuses. So basically, if you have roles added to this tab, it will show, and none of them have been staffed, it show not staffed. If you have them partially staffed, it'll show partially staffed, or if you have them fully staffed, it's going to show a value of fully staffed. And then it will show your total planned effort in hours as well. So for this project, once again, we don't have a work breakdown structure involved, because if you did, you can do things a little differently. But here's the way that I like to demonstrate how to build your team and then reserve or fulfill resources towards that team. So to add a new role to this project, you just go to the Add button, and it's going to open a prompt on the right side. And basically, you get all your defined roles, and the only one that is system defined is team member. That's just like the default role that gets created. But other than that, you get to define what roles are applicable to your company, and we'll talk about roles in a subsequent module here. Let's just pretend we have a consulting project, a very small one, 1 month, and we need a project manager. And you can define the required competencies as well by clicking on this hyperlink. It just brings open a pane, and you can say, yeah, we're looking for people with a specific competencies. Other than that, you can leave it alone. You can say how many of the resources that you want. So in this case, we're just going to have one project manager. We're going to need them from 4/4 to 4/29. And if you want to define a specific resource up front, you can. And this is actually looking at all our available resources that share the role of project manager. And I'm not going to define anything there. And then you also have the option to book from a calendar. So if you don't know the resource off the top of your head and you want to take a look at the calendar to see who's available and who has the right skill fit, you can go into I'll call it the scheduling form to take a look at resources. If you don't know any of that, that's fine. Just hit create, and it will create a role. So you can see that it's got a summary node, and then one level underneath it shows that we have project manager 1 that's available to be fulfilled. We need them from 4/4 to 4/29, and right now there is no time allocated to this project. We just have a role out there. So if we know how much time we need to allocate between the start and end date, we can do that. And to assign the booked hours, and notice this is going to be booked hours because we're assigning capacity to a specific role. You would go specify resource hours, and right now it's showing this resource has 40 hours available based off of our calendar. How many of those hours do we need to assign or use for this project? And you could select, first of all, you can select the general role, and it's going to highlight all the different checkboxes here. Second, you can select specific checkboxes, and then up top you have either soft book or hard book, and you can hard book or soft book based on the remaining capacity, which would be all 40 hours, full capacity, which would be 40 hours as well, a percentage of the 40 hours, or you can specify the hours that you want. The other thing to note too is there's view settings within this form. So you can pick view settings, and you can say, all right, what are the start and end date, and those default in from your resource, and then how you want to look at, like the blocks right here, how you want to look at them. There's different options. So if we want to look at this at a daily view, you can, a monthly view, you can as well, or a quarterly view, or a half year. I'm just going to leave it as is. The other thing too is you notice we see available in 40. That's because I have these toggled on. If you toggle them off, that information leaves and it just shows a blue block. But I'll keep those on so you can see it. So we'll just select this PM role right here and say that we need all, I mean, they're going to be fully consumed on this project. So we'll hard book them for the full capacity. So once you do that, you can see that now they're in a reserved status and they have 0 hours available. And if we look at the bottom here, there is actually the key to, like when you're looking at the blocks, what each color represents. So if they're fully reserved, it comes in as a hard blue. If they're partially reserved, it's basically diagonal lines, the diagonal blue lines. If they're soft booked, you get basically like a checkerboard of blue. Overbooked is red. Unavailable means it's a closed date, so that will be black, and then available is white. So right now, all I've done is said that through the month that this person is needed, we need them for 160 hours. So I'll go back now. Just hit the X to go back. And what we can see is this project manager 1 is needed from 4/4 to 4/29, and we need them for 160 hours. If you want to add more resources or roles to the project, you can hit add. And we'll just say we need some software developers as well. Let's say we need 2 of them. Same exact scenario, we need them for the full month. You can create those. If you want to edit it after the fact, you can. So maybe the software developer 1, we only need them for a couple weeks. So we can say we need them till 4/15. Hopefully 4/15 is a working day. So you can hit OK. And then we'll specify how many hours we need them for in theory. So we'll specify the hours. And notice we're seeing all our resources that we need. So the project manager's already got time allocated to them. And we'll just go ahead and say we need software developer 1. We'll need them, for those dates right there, full-time, and this developer full-time. So we'll hard book full capacity. So now we have reserved the amount of time we're going to need these specific people for the month that they're scheduled. So we'll go ahead and hit back. And now we're going to need 240 total hours from software developers, 80 from software developer 1, and 160 for software developer 2. All right, so the next thing that you can do is fulfill these roles, assign an actual person to the role. The way to do that is through the fulfill resource button, and I just want to clarify that there's a lot of different ways to do this. There's other forms that you can do this from. I'm just showing you the direct, simple way from a project. So for the PM1 role, let's fulfill it. So you can hit the fulfill resource button. And actually this brings you into a view that shows you all the different roles. And you can select which one you want, and then it's going to show you the resources that are available. So for PM1, we can see that we need them for 40 hours a week throughout the entire month here. And down below, there's this toggle right here that says only show resources with required role, and right now it's only showing me PM. So if I hit toggle this to no and refreshed, basically it would show me all resources, but right now it's just showing me PMs. You also have the view settings here, and this is where you can adjust things as well. So if you want to look at a daily view, you can. This is a little different than the last form that we were looking at. In the last form, you could select different checkboxes and and then hit a assign or hard book, and it would just hard book those. In this form, all you're doing is basically selecting a resource and assigning them to whatever's been reserved up top. So in this case, it wouldn't matter if I selected these two checkboxes and hit assign. It's not going to do anything. It's just saying, please select a resource to assign. So all you're doing is picking a resource. So let's pick Bonnie right here, and we'll assign her to the project manager role. And when I do this, this value for PM will remove. All right, so it says project manager 1 has been successfully fulfilled. And now we're on to software developer 1, and we can see that this guy's needed for 2 weeks every day. And it basically, there's logic in the system that looks at the date range needed and suggests the best way to look at the data. And since this is only a 2-week span, it's showing us in a daily view, which is pretty cool. So we can see per day all the different software developers that are available. So we can look for Jeff. Is he around? Oh, yep, there's Jeff Ford. And we can select him and assign him. And you notice on weekends he's unavailable. That's all right. Once again, all we're doing is selecting a resource and assigning them to the reserved capacity up top. So, yeah, and just to clarify, when you're looking at this top view, there's nothing that you do up here. This is just an overview of the time needed per day in the view that we're looking at. So software developer 1 has been fulfilled, and now we're at software developer 2 who's needed full-time for a month, and we have quite a few resources that we can pick from down here, but I'm just going to back out. And now we can look at our project team and scheduling tab on the project, and we can see now the project manager is Bonnie Kearney, and she's got 160 hours booked. Jeff Ford's going to be the software developer. He's got 80 hours booked, and we still have the software developer 2 role that has 160 hours needed that has not been fulfilled quite yet. Some of the other buttons on here, if you wanted to cancel any reservation, you can select the line, cancel the reservation, and it will clear Jeff Ford out of there and bring it back to a software developer 1 status. Confirm hours is basically if you have soft book time. So tentative reservations, if you want to hard book them, you can just hit confirm hours and it will go from soft to hard. Delete, you can delete roles out of here. Expand and collapse is pretty self-explanatory. If I collapse, it brings us down to the highest level. If I expand, it explodes out to the lowest level. So that's just showing an example of basically building your team, which consists of adding the roles to the project, defining the dates, booking the hours, and then assigning resources to those roles, which is fulfilling the resource. So, and just the last thing that I want to show you too is if we actually did have the work breakdown structure involved. So let's just add one task here. So I'll go to the WBS, add a new task. I'll call it task 1. We'll say we need it, and this isn't going to make sense from a timing perspective, but I'll just save this and publish it. So published. So once you publish it, now we can assign a resource, and notice when we hit this resource drop down, we only see our team members that are available. So Bonnie is the PM, Jeff is the senior developer, and then we have that senior, or the software developer 2 that's still there. You can automatically assign if you wanted to, or you can just pick, we need Bonnie, and now Bonnie is there, and this task is fully staffed. So, and if we hit back, now we see that Bonnie has 160 hours allocated to this project, but only 10 of them are assigned to a WBS task. All right, so that's the quick and dirty example of scheduling from a project without a WBS involved, even though I did show you a little bit with the work breakdown structure. So that's what I had to show you here.